There's two things that I want to talk to you about today that are very, very important. Now, a lot of accountants don't necessarily agree with what I'm about to tell you, but I think I can prove it. I'm going to see what you think. So there's two very important rules that I've learned recently. Number one, which I've always felt like this, but a lot of people think that taxes are, what is it, death and taxes? They say the two things you can't get away from. But this our money. If you earn money or someone pays you for something, it's your money. It is not the government's money. So it is your duty to reduce your amount of taxes. The less tax, it's actually, there's nothing patriotic about paying a lot of taxes. In fact, and this is the part that most accountants, or I won't say most, but a lot of accountants do not agree with this. The tax law is written to reduce your taxes. So of the thousands of pages of tax law, there's very, like, 0.5% is written about increasing your taxes, and all the law that's put into law, the tax code, is about how to reduce your taxes. So there's certain things that they incentivize. There's certain things that they will give you money for. As a matter of fact, if you want more of something, you need to subsidize it. For instance, and I can speak on this because I do, I'll get into farming a little bit more in just a minute. But a lot of farmers there is billions of dollars in farm subsidies that's actually a check written to farmers for doing certain things. So Smith, if you will, Google how much is paid in farm subsidies every year. I'm going to prove a point about this. My point is, the tax code is written to reduce your taxes. So a subsidy is something that the government actually pays you for, either in a check or now they're just direct depositing it. Okay. Can you put that on the screen for me? How much, first of all, can we get some, do we have any comments right now? I want to ask. No comments, no problem.
Not as of yet.
No problem. I don't blame them. Tax law is not very fun. It's not fun to talk about. It sucks unless you know what you're doing. But I would be curious if I'd like to hear some guesses on the amount of money. If you're watching and you would guess, all they're going to do is Google it.
I think I may have spoiled it already.
It's okay. Put it up there then. Put it up there. Let's roll.
So in 2019, it was $22 billion in farm subsidies.
Is that on the screen? Can people see it?
Yes, it's right here.
Yeah. So they can't see me?
You're down here.
You can see me. I'm the little.
Yeah, it looks just like it's right here in this box.
Awesome. I like this.
Yes.
So read it again.
Farmers got more than $22 billion in government payments in 2019. Now, that's the highest level of farm subsidies in 14 years. In 2019, the federal government delivered an extraordinary financial aid package to American farmers.
Read that last part again.
In 2019, the federal government delivered an extraordinary financial aid package to America's farmers.
Financial aid. Farming is hard work, but it is not profitable unless the government gives you money. You cannot make money farming without the federal government writing you a check. What were you going to say?
Oh, I just reacting. That's all.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So it is crazy. It is crazy. So, but the purpose of that aid package was to actually reduce or give the farmers some income. I have a small farm. I have some cows, and those cows, for the first time that I've ever heard of, there's subsidies for cows because the cattle prices went so low during the pandemic, and they're still pretty low. They actually are paying money. The federal government is paying money. And I think it's like $50 per head of cattle for every heifer. And well, I don't know the guidelines because I am done with farming. Okay. So here's why. It's nothing. It just takes money. It takes money. I'm not done with farming because there is, I think you can make a little bit of money with hay farming. So I'm going to work on that over the next couple of years. But here's a huge misconception about tax. Some people call them tax write-offs. Okay. this is an ignorant statement that you hear people say, oh, I need a tax write-off, or oh, he's doing that for a tax write-off. That's insane. That's silly to do something. You don't do something because it's a tax write-off. And here's what I mean by that. We'll take cows, for instance. If you buy cows because it's a tax write-off, great. Guess what? You got a tax write-off. But guess what you have now? You have a liability that you have to feed every single day. You have to give hay to. And it is insane to do something for a tax write-off. If you're looking for tax deductions, okay, let's call it by what it is. It's a tax deduction, not a tax write-off. Okay, if you want a tax deduction, you need to be looking for things that are going to increase your cash flow or increase your revenue or that might be profitable. Okay. For instance, in this office, we've invested a lot in a lot of this equipment and everything. That's a tax deduction, but it also increases our revenue by allowing us to reach more people, serve more people, help more people, solve more problems, and create more cash flow. So you do not, this is a big mistake that people make, and I'm guilty of it right now. I've done it for 2 years in a row. And now I'm getting super smart people to re-educate me and get my mind right. Okay. Do not buy something just because it's a tax deduction. Why are you walking around? You come through here. By the way, speaking of tax deduction, they are working on our studio, and it's going to be pretty doggone awesome. And we're making a substantial investment into that. And that is going to be a great tax deduction that will increase our revenue. So if you're looking for a tax deduction, do not buy something just because it is a tax deduction. All you're doing is creating another liability. You're getting a tax deduction to get another liability. That's silly. You look like you were going to say something. Let's talk about some things. Let's talk about some expenses, okay? And whether they're good or bad deductions. Can you work with me on that, Smith?
Sure.
Okay, let's talk about travel. Hotels and travel, good or bad?
I'm guessing bad.
No. See?
No.
And that's what this is about education. Travel is good. So the government, Congress, and the smart people in government they have a duty to, they're always talking about employment and unemployment, to reduce unemployment. They want people to travel. They want people to spend money. They want people to make investments. So if you're traveling, and once we can get on airplanes again, people traveling on airplanes, people traveling in cars, purchasing gas, purchasing oil, renting hotel rooms, that's all good for the economy. So the government incentivizes that by saying, if you travel for business, we're going to give you a deduction. Okay. So if you have it, first of all, if you're an employee, you need to start looking at how you can also be a 1099 or a small business owner and set your business up where you are a business owner, because there's way more tax benefits to someone, to an LLC or a corporation, than there is an employee. So and there's also huge tax advantages for investors. So Smith, even though you're an employee, if you wanted to, there's nothing to stop you from being an investor. Okay. You're going to have to get some capital. You're going to have to figure out what you want to invest in. But let's say you want to invest in real estate. Say you want to invest in real estate in, well, first of all, you need to invest where you like to travel. So let's say you want to invest in real estate. Where do you like to travel, Smith?
I like Tennessee.
Tennessee?
I haven't been there in forever, but the mountains are beautiful.
I just left Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
I went to see Case wrestle in Kentucky and see a dealer. So let's use that for example. I can fuel up the Baron. Okay. It takes about $200, $300 to fill up the Baron. Fly to Kentucky, rent a hotel room, pay a pilot, go out and eat dinner, and as long as I go see a dealer and do some business and talk about business with that dealer at dinner, then I can write. Now, my accountant may or may not, I may not be right about the meals, okay, because there is some changing in the tax laws there. But I know for a fact the fuel on the plane, the salary of the pilot, the hotel room, and the expenses incurred doing that are all a deduction as long as I'm doing business. I have to do business. And then if I slide in there and watch a wrestling tournament for 30 minutes or so on my business trip, then that's a tax deduction, because the U.S. government wants me traveling. They want me employing people. They want people buying fuel. They want people buying airplanes. They want people buying, renting hotels. And that is good for the economy. So that is a deduction. They're incentivizing me doing those things. But to your point, if you like Kentucky, you wanted to invest something in Kentucky, then here's what you can do. You find an investment opportunity in Tennessee. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And let's say you find you an apartment complex in Knoxville, Tennessee. Beautiful town, beautiful lake. You ever been on the lake up there?
I'm not sure if I've been there in particular. We went near Dollywood last time.
Okay.
In that area.
Knoxville is beautiful. Let's talk about Dollywood, and I guess that's near Pigeon Forge and those places.
I believe so.
So anyway, you find a cabin up there that you want that you can invest in. You can buy it. You can rent it out, rent it to people who want to travel there to Dollywood, right? Mm-hmm. So what you would do, let's say it's $200,000 for the cabin. Say you're going to you need $50,000 to put down. Okay. You put $50,000 down, and you have a nice cabin that you owe $150,000 on it. Just using hypothetical numbers. Let's say it costs you $1,000 per month in the mortgage, but you can rent this thing out for $2,000 a month. That's a positive cash flow, right? Now you can say, Billy, I need to go check on my cabin in Pigeon Forge. You can make sure that nobody's renting it that day. And you say, Billy, can I rent the plane from you? I say, yes, you can rent the plane. Pay me $1,000 a day for the plane, cover the fuel and the pilot. Okay. Your $1,000 to me, tax deduction. Pilot, tax deduction. Fuel, tax deduction. And you get to go check on your rental property and stay there for a day or two while you're checking on it. And all that's a tax deduction. So all this is very important. I would start by reading some things like tax-free wealth and understanding that. Don't be scared of the tax code, because it's written to reduce your taxes, not to find ways for you to create more tax burdens.